You've been lied to about what actually makes a woman respect you. It's not your money, it's not your looks, and it's definitely not how much you chase her. In fact, the more you try to impress her, the more something inside her quietly switches off. And you feel it, that subtle shift where she stops leaning in, stops admiring, stops seeing you as that man. But here's what most men never realize: respect from a woman isn't given when you try harder. It's triggered when you become different. And once you understand these attitudes, you'll never look at attraction the same way again. There's a certain energy a man carries when he knows his value without needing it validated. It's not loud. It's not arrogant. It's something deeper, something almost unsettling in its calmness. When you walk into a room with this attitude, a woman doesn't just notice you, she feels you before you even speak. Because you're not there to win her approval. You're there because you've already approved of yourself. And that changes everything. Most men operate from a hidden place of seeking attention, seeking affection, seeking confirmation that they're good enough. And women are incredibly sensitive to this, even if they can't always explain it. They pick up on the subtle hesitations, the slight over-explaining, the need to please. And instead of feeling drawn in, they feel like they're being asked to lead. And the moment she feels like she has to lead, her respect begins to fade. But when you shift into the first attitude, something powerful happens. You stop trying to be chosen, and you start choosing. Not in a cold or dismissive way, but in a grounded, intentional way. You observe her. You listen. You decide if she aligns with your world instead of desperately trying to fit into hers. And this creates a psychological tension that most men completely miss. Because now, instead of her being the prize, the dynamic flips. She begins to wonder if she's enough for you. And that's where respect is born. It's in the subtle moments where you don't rush to reply, where you're not afraid of silence, where your mood doesn't depend on her validation. You're present, but not consumed, interested, but not attached. And that balance creates a feeling she can't ignore. Because deep down, every woman wants to feel a man who is emotionally steady, not easily shaken, not easily controlled. But here's the part that gets uncomfortable. Adopting this attitude means you have to let go of the need to be liked. And that's where most men fail. Because they confuse being liked with being respected. They think if they say the right things, do the right gestures, avoid conflict, she'll naturally admire them. But admiration doesn't come from comfort. It comes from contrast. It comes from a man who is willing to stand in his truth, even if it creates tension. And when you start doing that, you'll notice something strange. Some women will pull away. They'll test you. They'll try to see if this is just an act or if you're really that grounded. And this is the moment where everything is decided. Because if you break, if you go back to seeking, to chasing, to over-explaining, the illusion is gone. But if you stay centered, if you don't react emotionally to her tests, if you remain calm, slightly unpredictable, and deeply self-assured, that's when her perception of you shifts on a subconscious level. And suddenly, she's not just talking to you. She's watching you, trying to understand you, trying to feel where she stands with you. And that's when respect starts turning into something deeper, something more powerful, something that most men spend their entire lives chasing without ever fully understanding. But this is just the beginning. Because the second attitude goes even deeper, and it challenges something most men are not ready to face. Because this is where the second attitude begins to separate you from every other man she's ever met. It's not about dominance in the loud, aggressive sense. It's about something far more rare, standards that don't bend under pressure. And the truth is, a woman doesn't fully respect a man she can emotionally control. Think about it. If she can ignore you, cancel plans, test your patience, and still feel like you'll always be there waiting, what reason does she have to truly value you? There's no risk, no tension, no consequence. And without consequence, there is no respect. Just comfort, and comfort alone slowly kills attraction. But when you embody this second attitude, you move differently. You're not reacting to her behavior, you're responding from your boundaries. And there's a massive psychological difference between the two. Reacting is emotional, impulsive, needy. Responding is calm, intentional, and grounded in self-respect. When she pulls away, you don't chase. When she tests you, you don't over-explain. When something doesn't align with your standards, you don't negotiate your worth just to keep her. You simply notice, and you adjust your investment accordingly. And that quiet shift, it hits her harder than any words ever could. Because now she feels something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. Not the kind that pushes her away, but the kind that pulls her in. The kind that makes her question where she stands with you. And here's what most men don't understand. A woman's emotional investment grows in the space where she feels she might lose you. Not because you're playing games, but because you genuinely won't stay where you're not respected. There's a moment in every interaction where a woman stops analyzing what you say and starts feeling who you are. And this is where the third attitude quietly takes control, because it has nothing to do with tactics and everything to do with emotional presence. Most men think that being strong means being distant, unreadable, almost cold. But that's not strength, that's protection. And a woman can feel the difference instantly. Because the truth is, a woman doesn't fully surrender to a man she doesn't feel safe with. Not just physically, but emotionally. And safety doesn't come from being soft or overly accommodating. It comes from a rare combination, emotional control and emotional depth existing at the same time. This is the attitude that most men get wrong. They either become too guarded, hiding everything, afraid to show emotion because they think it makes them weak, or they go to the other extreme, becoming overly expressive, seeking connection too quickly, revealing everything without restraint. But neither of these creates respect. One feels distant. The other feels unstable. But when you master this third attitude, something different happens. You become emotionally available, but not emotionally dependent. You can express yourself without losing control. You can connect without losing your center. You can look her in the eyes, speak with intention, and let her feel that there's depth in you, but also discipline. And that balance is incredibly powerful because it creates both attraction and trust at the same time. When you listen to her, you're not just waiting for your turn to speak. You're actually present. You're grounded in the moment. And that presence alone makes her feel seen in a way she doesn't experience often. Not because you're trying to impress her, but because you're genuinely there. And here's where it shifts. When a woman feels emotionally safe with you, she starts to open up layers of herself that she doesn't show to most men. Not because you forced it, but because your energy allows it. Your calmness, your clarity, your lack of emotional chaos, it gives her space to relax into her feminine side without fear of being judged or mishandled. And this is where respect transforms into something deeper, something almost instinctual. Because now, she doesn't just see you as a man who has standards. She sees you as a man she can trust. And trust is what makes her naturally soften, naturally follow, naturally invest. But here's the part that most men overlook. This attitude only works if it's real. You can't fake emotional presence. You can't pretend to be grounded while internally seeking validation. Women are incredibly intuitive when it comes to emotional inconsistencies. They might not call it out directly, but they feel it. And once they feel that disconnect, something inside them pulls back. That's why this isn't about learning lines or techniques. It's about doing the internal work to actually become this man. A man who is calm under pressure. A man who doesn't react out of insecurity. A man who can connect deeply without losing himself in the process. And when all three of these attitudes come together, something powerful happens. You stop chasing respect, and you start embodying it. You stop trying to make her submit, and she naturally leans into your presence. Not because she has to, but because she wants to. And that's the difference between temporary attraction and lasting influence. But here's the real question. Now that you see this clearly, are you willing to let go of the version of yourself that's been holding you back, just to step into this one? Or will you go back to what's familiar, even if it's the very thing that's been costing you respect all along? Because this is where the second attitude begins to separate you from every other man she's ever met. It's not about dominance in the loud, aggressive sense. It's about something far more rare, standards that don't bend under pressure. And the truth is, a woman doesn't fully respect a man she can emotionally control. Think about it. If she can ignore you, cancel plans, test your patience, and still feel like you'll always be there waiting, what reason does she have to truly value you? There's no risk, no tension, no consequence. And without consequence, there is no respect. Just comfort, and comfort alone slowly kills attraction. But when you embody this second attitude, you move differently. You're not reacting to her behavior, you're responding from your boundaries. And there's a massive psychological difference between the two. Reacting is emotional, impulsive, needy. Responding is calm, intentional, and grounded in self respect. When she pulls away, you don't chase. When she tests you, you don't over explain. When something doesn't align with your standards, you don't negotiate your worth just to keep her. You simply notice, and you adjust your investment accordingly. And that quiet shift? It hits her harder than any words ever could, because now she feels something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. Not the kind that pushes her away, but the kind that pulls her in. The kind that makes her question where she stands with you. And here's what most men don't understand. A woman's emotional investment grows in the space where she feels she might lose you. Not because you're playing games, but because you genuinely won't stay where you're not respected.